Welcome back to Talking Lead. This is episode 34. How's it going, Left Hand?
Going good. How are you?
Doing well.
You always ask me that at the beginning of the show.
I know. What'd you do with guns this week?
Well, did I talk about the AR pistol I got?
You mentioned it, but you didn't go too far in depth with it.
Okay. Well, that's my latest project. I'm going to go pick that up later today. But on another note, not firearms related, I got back in the gym.
Did you?
So I'm going to start my workout routine that Carol has been...
Yeah, and I've got a little bet going with Jake, the head of the Firearms Radio Network.
Yeah.
I got to do 5 days a week of at least 30 minutes, or I owe Carol $10.
What do you get in return?
In shape.
It's kind of a lopsided bet. Yeah, but you got to get something.
I got to get in shape.
I mean, they're getting good comic relief.
Yeah, well, we're getting cross-promotion from all of them. With Weekend Guns, Gun Guy, and then Carol's deal. So talking about the Firearms Radio Network, let's mention our sponsors. Firearms Radio Network, that's firearmsradio.tv.
ICE Training, our newest and latest and greatest sponsor. ICEtraining.us.
Our other new one, US Elite Gear, us-elitegear.com.
Holder and Green Professional Real Estate Services, HG Press, 1-800-615-1840. Extension 2222 for all your Middle Tennessee real estate needs. Give those guys a call.
Also, All or Nothing Tattoo Studios. That's allornothingtattoo.com. And their gun-friendly merchandise store with all kinds of cool shirts and stuff, strangleholdmerch.com. What I did with guns this week was jack squat. I did get back in shape with the whole weekly workouts that Carol initiated for me. Cleaned my rifle, getting ready for hunting season.
Cleaned them.
Cleaned one. That's about it.
Aren't you going on a dove hunt?
Yes, in 2 weeks.
What are you using for that?
Shotgun, not mine. Having to borrow it.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hadn't got my shotgun yet. Still saving up for it.
I got one you can use if you need it.
And then we got to welcome back a guest we had a few months back.
We have to?
Well, yeah. Do you see this guy?
Well, you said we have to. I said we want to.
Yes, we do want to welcome him back.
We are glad to welcome him back.
Mr. James Yeager. How's it going, man?
Good. How's it going?
Good. We've since taken fighting pistols since you were here the last time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we remember it.
We left a lasting impression.
And I now
admit it, we're the best students you ever had.
Listen, when the crew gets me together and says, why do you keep inviting these weirdos to the classes? We got some problems.
Yeah. And I did realize one thing. The last time we had you in, we didn't know what the hell to do with a gun. And we didn't realize it until after your class.
We would have been so dead many times over.
Well, the first level of knowledge is you don't know what you don't know. And then now you guys know what you don't know, and that's the biggest step forward. There are other levels of knowledge, but just getting to the point with your ego where you can go, you know what, I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. That's a huge step.
Yeah, and then my brother-in-law learned a little bit about hydration too in that class.
Thank God, man, that guy. Oh, I don't even know where to get started.
So, did you do anything cool with guns this week, out of the ordinary?
Actually, a little cool. I got a Shushka. A little crank-off, little short barrel rifle my wife got me for our anniversary.
Nice.
And it was built by Rifle Dynamics out there in Vegas. And Jim Fuller, that runs the place, said it was the only unfired kit that he's ever put together. So they cut a brand new gun in half to send a parts kit over. It's just crazy. But, man, it's just a neat little
Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been married 17. We've been together 20. And, I told my wife the other day, I said, if I'd have just murdered you, I'd be getting out of prison right now.
But you couldn't
Happy anniversary to her.
She made it. No, she's awesome. She's awesome.
Cool lady.
That's one of the coolest presents ever.
And then you brought a special guest with you today.
Yeah, Reed Henricks, our newest instructor at Tactical Response, and a feather in our cap.
And the polar opposite of hair from you.
Well, he's introverted. I'm extroverted. He's got hair. I don't.
We can get him involved in our Hawks for Locks
I was about
campaign.
To ask him about that.
Yeah.
How attached to your hair are you?
I don't know. I've been growing it for almost 2 years now, so
just at the follicle.
We're growing our hair out for Hawks Locks for Kids, and it's a organization where AJ Hawk plays for the Green Bay Packers. Mm-hmm. He started an organization when he cut his hair, similar to what's it called, Locks for Tots or something like that.
Yeah, Locks for Love or something.
Yeah,
Locks
something
for
like
Love.
that.
Yep.
And basically, kids who have alopecia, cancer, or anything like that. You grow your hair out to a minimum of 12 inches, cut it, and then they send it off and make wigs for the kids. So that's why we're growing our hair out for the first time since I was
20.
Do
they take beard hair?
I was wondering the same thing.
Would you donate it?
Sure.
You can make the kid a little
Sure.
mohawk. A beard hair.
Yeah, or beard hair. Nice Halloween get up. Who you going to be for Halloween this year, kiddo? I'm going to be James Yeager.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the talking lead jackwagon of the week, so brace yourself, baby.
So who is our jackwagon of the week, Left Hand?
I think we're going to go with that guy that Tuesday down in Atlanta
Uh-huh.
went up to the elementary school with his AK and opened fire. You hear about that one?
No, I didn't hear about it until you just told me a minute ago.
Yeah, it was like this 21-year-old or 20-year-old kid goes up to this elementary school, and I don't know what his reasoning was yet. I haven't read anything that told, but obviously he was mentally ill because he kept saying he was off his meds and he needed to go to the mental hospital instead of coming to the elementary school, obviously, and shooting it up. But he didn't kill anyone. He was just firing shots in the air. And there was this, and this is more the reason I want to talk about this story is because the front desk lady that was there was really a hero in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the 911 call where she's on the phone with dispatch, and she's talking this guy down basically the whole time.
Gotcha.
And if it wasn't for her, it could have really got out of hand, but she kept it under control, and the guy eventually put his gun down and surrendered. And there were no injuries or fatalities or anything like that. So that guy's a jackwagon for getting off his meds. Obviously, should have stayed on his meds and gone to the hospital like he originally had told her. But I want to we need to give her credit. Her last name's Tuff, Tuff.
Go
So
figure.
and listening to her voice, I mean, it's probably not a lady you'd want to mess with.
Mm-hmm.
But she took the motherly route. Is oh baby, you don't want to do this. I love you. It's just really coddling to him, and she talked him down, so she was awesome. Kind of on the opposite of our jackwagon, she's our hero of the week.
Since Yeager's here and we have a commonality of this YouTube thing going on, there's a blanketed jackwagon we're going to give to the whole group of trolls on YouTube.
I love those guys.
It's fun.
If they realized how much money they made me,
I know it.
they would never utter my name again.
I have people that will ask us, they'll say, okay, what do I do with the trolls when they start? Leave it.
Oh, no.
Let it be there.
Listen.
And then maybe answer it. And then all of a sudden, everybody that answers in, that's another view.
Let me go ahead and tell anybody that's choosing success, and I don't care what field you're trying to do, until you have a website dedicated to hating you, you haven't made it.
That's true.
That's very true.
It is.
What is it?
Dude, I got a bunch of Jaeger Scum. And there's a bunch of
It's
ones.
actually a domain, jageriscum.com.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's awesome. Please keep doing it.
I think Koresh is behind all those.
Kokesh?
Koresh.
Is it?
Kokesh.
This is way
Cokehead, Kokesh.
this is way before him.
Yeah.
Oh, this way predates him.
What
So
do you
y'all
think
buried
about
the hatchet yet, or that's still?
Listen, like I
He
said,
had a positive comment about it.
Oh, I know. I mean, that was.
well, I've never seen anything positive about him.
Well, about.
Listen, he talked crap. His people dogpiled me, and I don't like him. And I challenged him to a fight. He didn't accept. But him being held without bond is wrong, and it doesn't
That's
matter.
what it was.
It doesn't matter who he is. It's wrong, and just because I don't like him doesn't mean that I shouldn't stand up for the Constitution.
Right.
It could just as easily be me.
You took the high
Yeah.
road.
Well, I mean,
know?
I'm hoping that
He did the right thing.
I'm hoping he would do the same thing. Should the roles be reversed? Set the personal differences aside. See the situation for what it is, as a travesty of justice, and then when he gets out of jail, then we can fight again.
Yeah.
There you go.
That'd be awesome. Get that on video. You video it and
We'll
record
commentate.
it.
We'll commentate. And here they come up to the ring,
So
and they're going toe to toe, and bam! Kokesh is down.
what do you think about all the people that think he's like a plant?
That he's a agent provocateur.
Yeah.
I think there's conspiracy theories about me. I think the dude is legit. I think he's legit crazy, but I think he's legit.
Well, one thing we said on the show we had after you had the video where you didn't mention his name and everything, I think his heart was kind of sort of in the right place, but he just needed, one, think it out, two, get with other people like-minded that are pro-gun and say, okay, how should we do this? For instance, that thing would have worked. If they would have, at the border, had family members there, whatever, handed them the guns, then continue to march in. It'd been a lot
Obviously,
safer, and
his
still
heart
got
might have been in the right
across.
place, but his mind is not in the right place.
No, it's all. I don't think he ever was going to go through it in the first place. Anyways, and then some of those trolls that we talked about, your favorite ones when you point a gun at the camera. Because, cameras are really...
Here's what's funny. You're pointing a gun at me. No, check it out. I pointed a gun at a camera. Then
that's on a tripod. There's nobody behind holding that camera.
No, even if there was somebody holding the camera, I'm not pointing the gun at the person looking at the video. See, I pointed the gun at a camera. That image was put onto an SD card. The SD card was downloaded to my computer, edited, uploaded to the internet, and then downloaded to their computer. No way did I point a gun at them. Now, I'm working on new technology, and I probably shouldn't say it here, but I'm developing.
Don't give it away.
I'm developing technology where I can punch my computer screen and hit people on the other side.
That's awesome. You'll be an instant millionaire. You'll be a freaking billionaire.
I'll be an investor. I'll pony up for that.
I'll utilize it.
People are just they're unbalanced.
Ridiculous.
They're unbalanced.
So, Reed, little background on you. We asked 5 questions. Actually, we only asked you 3 of these. We came out with 2 new ones.
Well, because my answers were so good.
They were. We had to come up with 2 new ones.
Everything.
And we may do a tip of the week video with him later, but we may have to do it up here because all the egos would just be too big to fit in the little space where we do the tip of the week.
I don't know. We got to go feed him, don't we?
Yeah.
NTN
that
still
too.
down there? He's starving by now.
So, Reed, first question is, how'd you get into guns?
Man, I've been into guns for a long time. I guess maybe I started when I was like 8 years old. I got to summer camp and shot a .22, and I really enjoyed it. And after that, I went into the military when I was very young, and I really got excited when I got to use those. And when I got out, I got into it. I dabbled, but I really didn't start getting serious until about maybe 5 years ago, and it just kind of caught on from there.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, right in the middle, about halfway between Chicago and St. Louis, and that's where I was born and raised.
How do you like the South so far?
I love it. My family is mostly Southern. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in any other state besides Tennessee, maybe Texas, but
nah.
But besides those two, I think that those two are probably the best states in the country.
You better be glad I had water in my mouth.
Tell us more about your military background. That's our second question. Do you have any military law enforcement background?
No, I was in the infantry when I was in the military. I was with 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. Infantry, I was the assault section leader for them. After I got out of the military, I did law enforcement. Did some undercover narcotics, and once I got done with that, I got sent down to New Orleans after for Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. So I was down there.
So you're down there during all that mess.
Yeah, we really helped a lot of people, and I know there's stories about other law enforcement like disarming people. I high-fived them if they were armed.
Wait a minute, you can't high-five anymore now that you work
I didn't
for that
know
guy.
James back then.
No high fives.
I didn't know James back then, but if I could rewind and do it again, I would give them a fist bump instead.
Fist bump?
But no, so we went down for there and did some good things down there, and then I stopped wanting to arrest people, and I went to college and started teaching high school history, and started training with James a couple of years ago, and from there, I guess everything fell into place.
Tell us your most interesting undercover drug story.
You just go a lot of seedy places with a lot of seedy people, and
which one comes to mind right now? What are you thinking of? Which event?
Teenagers and ecstasies.
Let me preface this with, he was the law enforcement.
Yeah, I was the law enforcement person there.
Clarify that.
I was trying to stop them.
But you were undercover.
Yes.
You're like, what's his name? 21 Jump Street? Tonto, who played the dude played
Johnny
Tonto.
Depp.
Well, it was funny
Johnny
because
Depp.
I was back then I was probably like 24, 25, and I looked like a teenager. I mean, I had a really, when I shave, I actually look a lot younger than I do when I don't shave, and so I guess I pulled it off.
Cool. Now tell us your most interesting history school story.
Like college or
As a teacher.
Oh man.
Did you ever have like Indiana Jones where like a chick blinked and like had writing on her?
I had a high school student ask me to marry them on my last day.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was joking, I think.
The girl is crushed, I'm sure.
So she had on this shirt, is a all white t-shirt, and then she had a jacket on over it, and it was zipped up. So when she came up, the kids all knew it was my last day because I told them I was going to work for James at Tactical Response, and so all the kids were sad, it was
sad
like
because you were going to work for him, or sad that you were leaving?
no, said I wasn't going to be there anymore, and it was a tough decision, but nonetheless, so on last day, so she had this shirt on, and then it was a cover garment over it, and so she came up with my.
Did she stop you? Is she 18?
No, she was like 16.
Watch what you say.
Yeah. So, don't worry, I don't date any girls whose age begins with 1. So anyway, so she came up with her yearbook, and she goes, Mr. Hendricks, will you sign my yearbook? And I said, well, yes. And so then she unzipped her she had the shirt on and says, "Marry me?" ? She goes, "So you were talking about my shirt, right?" And I was like, "No, I was going to sign your yearbook." And and so I guess, but that was funny. But you understand that every day it was something every bit as funny as that. It was awesome.
That little girl is sitting crying right now. She's still heartbroken.
Especially now that you're on videos on YouTube.
He laughed at her.
Did you have the hair when you were teaching?
She's probably hung herself with a coat hanger.
No, not at all. Look, you asked me like what my best story was. Every day was good there. I mean, it was the kids were the best part of it. And like everyone wants to say that high school kids are apathetic and that they're stupid and they don't know anything and they don't care. But my next question to them is, well, when was the last time you actually interacted with one and said anything positive to them?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Every day was good for me there, and I really enjoyed the kids. I hated the adults. But I really enjoyed being in the class
because the adults were stupid and apathetic.
Yeah, the very thing the very things they accused the kids of, they embodied themselves, and I think it was more of a self-loathing rather than hating the kids.
And then third question is, when it comes to pop culture, whether it's a movie, TV show, video game, music video,
comic books,
if it involves guns, what is your favorite? What's your go-to?
Pop culture?
Yeah. That involves firearms.
Probably Yeager's YouTube channel.
Good answer.
Yeah, that's a correct
freaking
answer.
brown noser.
No, it's funny because I don't have a TV. I don't do that stuff. So the only time I'm ever around pop culture is him.
I can answer this question for him if you'd like.
Yeah.
Sure.
His all-time favorite movie is The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
and he constantly quotes the gun lines from that movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're calling the cops, man.
Put the piece away.
Our fourth question, this is one of our new ones, is...
And you got to answer it.
Is there or has there ever been a firearm or weapon in your arsenal that you were ashamed or would be ashamed to admit to?
Or even like a little bitty part of you that's embarrassed to say, yeah, I had that.
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, maybe when I first started out, you don't know any better, and you get something you don't really need. But I mean, I'll turn it around and say that I'm proud that I own every gun that I have, because every gun that I own now is on the as it was on the assault weapons ban. so I'm pretty proud of them.
That's
actually.
when you know you're doing it right.
Yeah.
You just go by the assault weapons ban and then just checklist. Got that.
Yeah, like I looked at the bill when I read the whole thing in its entirety, and I was like, how awesome is that? I own every single one. Like every one that I own is on there. It's like a checklist now. So yeah, so happy. So it was a good day.
Yeah, good answer.
No, you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I can.
You haven't answered this one.
Yeah, I can answer this. I don't have. I've never owned a gun that I was embarrassed to have, but I've owned a gun that people would make fun of me for having.
Okay.
Lorson 32 ACP. Now the thing is that one of the reasons that I hate that the Saturday night special those terms are thrown around is that poor people need guns too.
Yeah. And
sometimes you can't afford a Glock. And at one point in my life, I couldn't afford anything except a Lorson 32 that I bought used for like $30 or something like that. Is all I could afford. I'm not embarrassed of that gun. I actually wish I still had it. I'm not embarrassed of it because it meant a certain thing to me at a certain point in my life. But poor people need guns too. And so that one kind of, I've never been embarrassed of any gun, but that's the one that if people
the most
found
ribbon
out,
from.
they would make fun of me for it.
Yeah.
So Reed from our network, not you. Some people just can't afford a Wilson Combat AR, so that's why they make Wyndham Armory and DPMS and whatnot.
Is Reed giving us a hard time?
Just
or something?
a little. No, he and I have been kind of going back and forth.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
On an email that was.
Yeah, that's one thing we talked
get my
about.
jabs in when I can.
Was it the last episode or the show before that where we were talking about, like, especially in Tennessee, I don't know how the laws are in other states, but if you're involved in a defensive shooting, you lose your gun for a while. So if you've invested,
maybe
$700, maybe. I thought they always took it.
No, there's no
Does it?
hard and fast rule.
Oh, okay, but if they do,
On
it's
occasion
gone
it
for a
happens.
while.
Yeah.
Like they keep it until everything's cleared and everything. Like
Yeah,
that, which could possibly take a while.
My wife knows where my jail gun bag is, and I have a complete duplicates of everything I carry, every holster, every gun in a bag, and she knows if I ever get in trouble that she should bring that along with the bond money.
And what is your next on your bucket list, your want list of guns?
I don't know. I mean, I pretty much have what I would like, but if I could pick any one, I would want an East German AK.
Nice.
Yeah, that's. I would say that I've always wanted one, and I'm trying to find one. And James, of course, when we talk about it, he said he had a really, really nice one when he was in Iraq. So
Cool.
So that's be the one that I would want above anything.
If any of our listeners have inside track on a East German AK, send us a private message.
For me, dueling pistols.
So when people like coquettes,
I'm not even joking.
No, he's
I'm
really serious
I'm
about
looking
that.
at dueling pistols. That's on my list.
Yeah, he showed me the picture yesterday. He goes, "Look, dueling pistols."
Like
And he
Andrew
showed me they were
Jackson
in
had,
the
right?
box.
are you gonna have like the little white glove to where you can slap somebody with
He
it?
carries one with him.
I already have the glove.
Or the Iron Gauntlet. Which one are you going to slap somebody across the face
I
with?
challenge you to a duel.
My favorite episode of The Simpsons, Homer had a glove and he kept challenging people to duels if they didn't do what he wanted. And he slapped with one guy and he said, "I accept, sir." And he says, "Oh gosh, I just invited somebody to do a duel that says, sir."
That's when you know you're in trouble, right?
That's
Challenge
awesome.
somebody to a duel and they call you sir.
Oh, he really does carry a glove around with him.
James Buchanan.
I'm not kidding.
And a mouthpiece.
One of your biggest videos in recent YouTubery was the Republic If You Can Keep It video, right? It's up to like 40,000 views, something like
Yeah,
that.
40 plus, yeah.
Wow. And that was the gentleman right here.
Reed, right.
Which was a really, really cool video. I want to talk about that a little bit, kind of along the lines of something you said in that video. I loved when you introduced him in your introductions, and you asked him, "What does the Second Amendment mean to you?" And you were like, "It's absolute. It's a right that even if there was no government, there was no constitution, you would have it. It's a natural right."
Man, that's kind of a heavy topic, I guess, especially nowadays. One thing that really, I don't know. I love history. I love studying about it, and so many Americans just don't understand natural law or what your natural rights are. And some people will say it's a theory, but it's not really a theory because the Founding Fathers put it into practice. A natural law is something that you have by virtue of the Creator, and even if you're an atheist, by virtue of your own humanity. I mean, just being human. A good way to...
Just existing.
Yeah, simply existing as a human being, you have that right. If no governments existed, they would still be there. The right to life, a right to defend yourself, the right to reproduce, things like that. And one thing that I really want to emphasize is that the difference between a right and a privilege, and James and I were talking, and a right is something that you do not have to ask permission to do. A privilege is something that is granted, right?
Right.
And it's the right to defend yourself. You don't have to ask permission to defend yourself. I mean, that's absolutely asinine. Every creature in the animal kingdom can defend itself.
Right.
The Second Amendment allows you to keep and bear arms. Keep means to have. Bear means to carry.
Right.
What's uncertain about that?
Nothing.
And,
It's absolute.
if I could jump in there, the part, a well-regulated militia, Reed and I were talking about this, and he actually set me straight on it. In that context of that word, regulated does not mean controlled or defined by the government. It means trained, well-trained militia.
Well-run militia as well, and there were many things about that. If that comma wasn't in there, it would be irrelevant. It doesn't
Right.
matter. So many things were well regulated, and it just mean that you had to be trained or
Trained and oversaw.
yeah,
Organized.
And you don't even need to be organized. You just, it doesn't have to be an official thing. I mean, you have to remember, guys, that during the Revolution, almost every single American had a gun. I mean, before it started. How do you think it started? The farmers in Massachusetts had their own guns. And if they were part of a militia and couldn't afford to have their own guns, they were provided them out of the public store. So that's the Second Amendment. It's a right. It says the Bill of Rights. It's the Second Amendment of the Bill Bill of Rights, and a right is something you do not have to have permission to do.
Now, the video of the Republic, if you can keep it, is that a new class, or is that part of a class that you're doing?
No, it's something he did for the alumni weekend, but because of the popularity of that, he actually started a series of lectures that are quickly becoming a class.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. It was good stuff.
The one he did in Pennsylvania last week was the fighting mindset of the founding fathers, and it was basically everything that led up to Concord and Lexington. And what a fantastic, just amazing, and he's a very passionate speaker. If you watch the video, what an amazing 3-hour lecture that was.
Oh, it's like I was telling you, it took me about a month to watch it just because of my time constraints, but I finished it today, and every time I got to watching it, I would stretch it a little bit longer than I actually had time to watch it, because it was, like you said, you're a good speaker. You kind of suck the people in. You're a good teacher, unlike some people who just text all the time.
No. Well, I appreciate those words. I mean, I really appreciate those. It's one of those things where I never thought that it would have the impact. I mean, when James says there's over 40,000 people that have watched that, when I got out of teaching, I really was upset about it, because I said, man, how many kids are not going to, get the information? How many kids are not going to be taught the foundation of the country? But then he talked
the proper
with me.
way. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, just the traditional viewpoint of government should be limited, and that the Constitution is to restrain the government and protect the people, not the other way around.
Right.
And when we talked one night, and I was kind of torn up over it, and he said, "Look, that video." And I think it was like 3 or 4 days after it had 20-something thousand views, and he said, "Look, you could teach 100 lifetimes and not impact as many people as you have in the past 4 days."
Yeah.
And I kind of thought about that, and just the feedback that people have been giving me about this video, man, you totally changed the way I look at government. Man, I was apathetic until I watched your video. Now I want to go out and do something about it. And I never saw it was kind of an unintended consequence of this, because the alumni weekend, James wants all the instructors, and all the instructors want to give a block of instruction, but all the gun stuff was kind of taken up, and and I looked at James, I was like, hey, I want to do something kind of about history, and he says, write it up and send it in, and I did, and I had grown-ups come up to me crying, and
like it really impacted people. I mean,
so you opened up
it really is an amazing video.
A whole nother dynamic to the gun training. Bring in the history part of it as well. It's like, all right, here's the history behind why you're here learning how to do this.
Well, yeah, and if you look at tactical response, our priorities are our mindset, tactics, skill, and gear. And my entire lecture was focused on mindset.
Right.
Mindset.
Getting them ready for the proper mindset as to why they're there. Yeah.
Mindset is the foundation from which everything else stems. It's the root from which everything else stems. And it's like, why, in America, why do we have guns to begin with? It's not only to protect ourselves, but it is there. It's the basis of every free society. Does tyranny happen where the citizens are armed? No way. And
not as easily, no.
No. And and so but I thought about it. Mindset is our what we focus on more than anything else. And as Americans, that mindset is that we are a free people. Every single person in this country has as much power as a king in ancient times had. We have the ability to own property here. We have the ability to pursue happiness. And I think that every person in America is a king. And when I see all the stuff happening and just the mindset of certain people, I don't have a permit, so I can't carry it. You don't need it. It really upsets me.
You don't need permission.
You don't need permission to defend yourself. And just because something's the law doesn't mean it's valid. I mean, up in the 1950s, blacks weren't allowed to ride in the front of buses. It was a law. Was it a valid law? Of course, we laugh at it now. How could people be so stupid?
Women weren't
then?
allowed to vote.
Yeah, until the
I still think that's a bad idea.
Oh. But you look at all the laws, guys. I mean, look at just because something's a law, just because something's popular at the moment, doesn't make it valid. And I think you're going to look at in 20 years, you're going to look at this time as a renaissance of firearms. You are going to look at this time as a renaissance, as when Americans finally woke up and realized that our heritage is tied directly to steel of guns.
I just got chills.
Yeah, like every time he talks, I'm like, all right,
right on, brother.
When do we get started?
Nice, no high fives.
Right, no high fives.
Look, we say most things tongue in cheek, but he's serious about that.
No high fives.
You said something a minute ago that I had mentioned in a show a few weeks back when when we decided we were going to send arms to Syria, to the Syrian rebels. And I got in an argument with a guy at work, and we were talking about that, and I got ticked off. I said, it's interesting that we're sending firearms to Syrian rebels, and our administration's exact words were to fight a tyrannical government. Well, then they want to take away our firearms. And
because they are a tyrannical government.
Well, he looked at me. He goes, yeah, but we don't have a tyrannical government. And I just looked him dead in the eye, and I said, exactly. We have the firearms. They're not tyrannical yet.
They're trying to be.
But if they took away our firearms, tyranny happens when nobody's armed.
Well, Reed's got
Tyranny.
something to say.
Well,
Say it. Let's hear it.
I don't know, guys. I mean, nobody wants to believe that the United States government is trying to screw our... Nobody wants to believe that they can be tyrannical. Not in my lifetime, but you ever notice that when a kid... When someone's parents tell the kid not to do... When they're younger, they tell them not to do something. What's the only way that the kid isn't going to do it?
Beaten.
By doing it,
yeah.
right? By doing it and figuring it out. Like, we as Americans here, we haven't been burned by tyranny in generations.
Yep.
We haven't had to live with that bitter taste in our mouth of what it's like to live under the yoke of an oppressive government. My fear is that if that happens, it might be too late. When does the fly know when it's in the spider web?
It's already there.
When does the wildebeest know when it's in the lion's jaws? When it's there. We've got to understand that when you're playing around with stuff like this, when you're talking gun control, when you're talking all these laws, you're playing with a dangerous piece of fire.
Let me ask you this, Reed. So throughout, you're a historian. Throughout history, how often has there been a case where a government has taken away guns and then been benevolent? Like that has to happen pretty frequently. Like, how many times has that happened?
And when was the most recent?
Well, I don't know, guys. Let's look at this. I mean, just look at this objectively, okay? Just look at this objectively. Look at the Bolsheviks, okay? The Bolsheviks killed tens of millions of people in the Soviet Union. What'd they do first? They had to get rid of the dangerous tools. Dangerous tools were the guns. Nazi Germany is the same way. People say, but Hitler didn't take away... That's a lie. That's a fallacy. Here's what I do know. He took away guns from Jews in 1938. They were going to concentration camps very soon after.
Yep.
Pol Pot. Look at the killing fields of Cambodia.
Yep.
I mean, let's use the United States. We're not a perfect country. I'm not here to say the United States is perfect. We're not perfect. We have our blemishes. We have our moments where we should be ashamed. And let's look at what happened. Let's look at the Native Americans. What was the federal government's policy towards Native Americans? Disarm them, put them on reservations, and then massacre them.
And syphilis blankets.
Sure. I mean, it goes. I mean,
That was way early.
But look, why? Look at. I mean, look at what that is. Let's look at the South. I mean, let's look at certain states. During Reconstruction, why were blacks disarmed after the Civil War? To disarm them so that they could be terrorized and not ever have a valid voice. So I think
They
when
couldn't
you
stand up for themselves. Yeah.
you have to look
Protect
at
themselves,
gun control is to me the most despotic, tyrannical act that could be enacted. And an armed man is a citizen, an unarmed person is a subject.
So
Okay, and for our listeners, me, what does despotic mean?
A despotism, a despot.
Oh, despotism.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So you're saying how many was that have taken guns away and then been really nice after?
That'd be a big zero.
Big fat zero.
No, it's. I mean, you have to
Nada.
think why. Why would a government not trust their people with arms? I mean, why would that be the case? I mean, it's like a beautiful example of this. I mean, you want to use a recent example? Let's use let's use some of the Balkan states in 1995. They put all these people in these UN camps, right? They put all these people there, and then all of a sudden these huge massacres happen. Srebrenica, right? These huge massacres happen there. And then afterwards they interview these people and they say, why didn't the police or the military stop these massacres from happening? And the answer was, well, who do you think had all the guns? Is that a reality check right there? I think it is.
Saddam Hussein.
It's just, look, I mean, and people say, but the Second Amendment's not absolute. You can't just have any gun you want. The majority of the artillery used during the Revolutionary War was privately owned.
Including cannons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Artillery, cannon, mortars, whatever.
And Second Amendment, let's go back in time a little bit before guns. I mean, are you going to say, oh, well, your sword can only be certain length, or your spears can only be this level of sharpness? I mean, that didn't happen. I mean,
Well, they did limit, because if you were higher blood, royalty type blood, who could carry them in public, right?
Oh, you mean when we had kings?
Yes.
Monarchies. Tyrants.
Tyrants.
Yeah, you mean you guys understand. I'm sure most of the people listening to this are like-minded like us, and I think it's very important to emphasize that a lot of people just don't know about guns, or they're afraid of them because they're just ignorant. Ignorance breeds fear, and I think, but like I said, we're going to look back on a Renaissance time. More and more people are getting into shooting and guns. More and more people are coming to our classes, and they're scared to death. Not because of what we say. I mean, they literally are scared to death for their own safety, and people want to imagine that. I mean, they want to say human nature is if people just have the right environmental factors, then it'll be okay. Well, there's no such thing as a utopia, and there are bad people.
One thing I want to talk about too, and it's kind of going to go into we'll have a different facts to fight the myths than what we normally do. To be one big myth is, you were talking about we're going into a Renaissance. It's almost like an Enlightenment period, political philosophy-wise. A lot more people that I talk to are going from, I was a Republican or I was a Democrat because that's what my parents were, and they're starting to be more like we are. I mean, y'all seem to be the same way. I take in all the facts for myself, and I make the decision off of that. I don't go by what a label of a party tells me that's what I should be doing. And I think a lot more people are starting to open their eyes to that and go, wait a minute, and we try not to get too political in this, but, this two-party system
anytime
is
you've
not that
got
great.
two sides of things, you're always going to have disagreements, arguments, and fussing and fighting. As a nation, that's what we need to start striving for, is unity and get rid of parties. There doesn't need to be parties. There needs to be no division. It needs to be, like you say, individual thought and decision made based on your individual beliefs.
Well, if you have two
parties,
if you have two ultra polarizing parties, and they're fueled by two big media stations, CNN, Fox News, one's ultra right wing, one's ultra left wing, and you have the society down below them doing this, butting heads the whole time, just fighting. Guns are bad, no, guns are good, and then everybody's doing this. While we're all doing this, up at the top, they're doing whatever the hell they want to. Mm-hmm. And that's where we end up getting screwed. Going into the fact to fight the myth being that we're a democracy. And I'll let you take that one and run with it.
Oh, man, the power of words is so intriguing. I mean, when you look at the words, I mean, just the power of them in general. Words are emotion. I don't know if a lot of people realize this or not, but was there ever a more eloquent writer than William Shakespeare? You would be hard-pressed to find anyone who could use words to stir passion and emotion in somebody. Shakespeare...
I'm talking to one.
Well, Shakespeare had 32 times less words than are in existence now, and each word meant something. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and Benjamin Franklin and John Adams started crossing stuff out, he got kind of upset about that because he said each word was precisely chosen. Words are so powerful. So when you say things like Renaissance, like what is a Renaissance? People want to look at Renaissance and they look at it as this period of this rediscovery of art and music, but it's not a rediscovery. Renaissance means rebirth, to be born again. What was being born again?
Something that already existed.
Yes, something that already existed. So, and you say right wing, left wing. Even those words have become convoluted. And, right wing used to refer to people that sat on the right in Europe, and that meant people that believed less government. Left wing used to be people that sat on the left that wanted more government. But what people understand right wing and left wing in the vernacular times of the political things, they say right wing. On the extreme far right wing would be Nazis. That's what people have told me. And on the far left wing would be communists. Well, what did each one of those societies look like? Both had absolute total control over their citizens. So they're not polar opposites. They're actually coming back around the circle to the same place. Right. When we look at right and left, look at it in terms of political power. Like libertarian, right? They would be right. They would be as little government as possible. On the left would be the statists, the socialists, whatever you want to call them. So once again, the power of words. And as far as political parties go, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing, and instead of principles, we vote for parties. I mean, so many people that I know, I would never vote for them. They're a Democrat, or I would never vote for them because they're a Republican. You're right. Political parties are very divisive, and eventually, who ends up getting the wrong end of things is everybody else. But what I find amazing is that every single faction, in other words, group in our country with a cause, gun owners, let's even go gays, let's go people that, whatever issue you want to choose, who do they think the enemy is? The government. So why is it that every group, no matter which side of the political spectrum that they're on, why is it that everyone sees government as the enemy? And why is it that instead of fighting that big enemy, we fight each other?
Like if I could jump in, like everybody's mad about the NSA.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't there any unity?
Right.
The left and the right are mad about all this stuff, and I would say in general, left and right think Snowden as a patriot for informing us about the snooping. Not a treasonist, but he's been charged with treason. He just told us, So why aren't these issues uniting us as a country? And what the funny part is, nobody's really mad about it, like at least publicly.
I enliken it, or enliken, is that the right word? Enliken it?
Liken it.
I compare it to, I remember a quote my grandmother said when I was a kid. She said, I don't read the Bible because the preacher does it for me. It's the same thing with this. I don't get involved because the news will tell me everything I need to know.
It must be true.
Or the government will take care of it all. I'm fine. I've got my $80,000 a year job and a nice house and blah, 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 blah. And they just let everything taken care of. We're in a society right now where it's entertain me. Everything is entertain me, whether it's sports, which I love sports. I'm not dogging any of these entertainment things, but everything is getting more and more, what can you do to make my life easier where I can just stare at a screen and not do any thinking myself? And that's starting to get a little scary, but back to what you said, they do it for me. I don't need to get involved. I don't need to unite.
That's one thing that's so terrifying to me. The one thing that's so absolutely just gives me, I have trouble sleeping at night. I very rarely get a full night's sleep. I'm usually, believe it or not, very tired. I don't tell too many people that, and here I am telling them. But, the thing that scares me more than anything is that I believe that people now value their immediate pleasure over the future for their children. And until we get to the point, and I say we, and I include myself, until we get to the point where we value posterity greater than our ESPN, I don't know if anything's going to happen, guys. You don't have to have massive change at the federal level. You build a house one brick at a time. And I think that people need to really grasp what's going on. You see your neighbor getting messed with. You see someone else getting messed with. You see all this stuff. Why? Is it that scary to stand up for them? I don't believe that. I really, really hope that this message gets spread as to as many people as possible, and that people understand what kind of future we're facing if we continue on the trajectory that we are heading towards.
Another thing you mentioned in there about the Republic, if you can keep it video, is the government is in place to maintain our rights. Am I saying that right?
Oh, they're there to protect them.
Protect our rights. Yeah. They're there to protect our rights. So any laws they make are supposed to just be to protect any rights that we have. But it's gone way beyond that now.
Yeah, the early laws in this country, the early laws were designed to limit the government. In other words, law was seen as a positive thing because it enabled more freedom for people,
right.
but
didn't limit the people, it limited the government.
Precisely. Yeah. And over the past 100 years, it's been that laws are to restrict people and expand government. It's been the complete opposite. It's kind of like if you read Animal Farm. Yes. They just kept changing the laws as they went along, right? And that's exactly what it's been. But you have to understand that what we are dealing with lately, it's just been, especially in the past 100 years, the past 100 years has been an anomaly in the United States. It's been completely out of the norm. But how many generations have been born since in the past 100 years? They think income tax is normal. They think big government is normal. They think direct election of senators is normal. Guys, the Founding Fathers would think that very, very, very weird. And actually, they would consider that tyrannical.
counterproductive to what they put in place.
Yeah.
Well, just look
absolutely.
at, regardless of who would have won between Hillary and Obama, Hillary got in the top level of government anyways.
Mm-hmm.
If she would have won the presidency, and if she, by chance she does again, for the last 35 years, 2 families would have been in charge of our government. The Bushes and the Clintons. And that's scary. And that's on both sides of the spectrum. The Bush for Republicans and
I
Clinton
don't
for
think they're
Democrats.
that different. I think there is a slow train to the demise of this country, and I think there's a fast train to the demise of the country, and that's the Republican and the Democratic parties.
Yep, I agree.
Guys, there's this illusion. I mean, did you ever watch pro wrestling where the wrestlers hate one another, and then like when they get on TV, they like smash each other with folding chairs and talk a lot of trash, and then like behind the curtain they're having a high five and laughing?
Yep.
That's politics.
Oh yeah, they figured out when NFL and Major League Baseball and basketball and everything got so hugely popular, they figured like people love competition, and if we polarize them to the right or to the left, like if they were the Steelers or the Titans, then it's going to be easy to control.
They've been doing that long before organized sports were in play.
Yep.
Well, the main issue here I think is guns, and I think I really honestly believe that
Guns and weed. Just throwing that out there.
well, guns and weed.
Might as well throw prostitution in there.
We're starting a new podcast next week.
Guns and weed.
That
And prostitution.
But isn't it funny that both groups view the government as the enemy?
Guns and ganja.
Hey, that's a. Don't be surprised if that's
we're
not
trying
a
to get
ban.
Jamaica on our listenership, so that might help.
Oh man, but it's really funny, guys. I mean, we look at guns as a positive thing, and we look at it as a positive liberty, and our founding fathers did too, and that's why there were no restrictions on guns, with the exception of minorities, and after the Civil War, there were no restrictions until the 20th century. I mean, if that doesn't tell you what the intentions of the founding fathers were, I don't know what will. And I mean, you could used to order Thompson submachine guns out of the Sears catalog. I mean,
You could go to the hardware store.
yeah.
$12.95.
Right, and then but look, when did they start getting restricted? Once they used the Constitution to ban a substance, alcohol, then gangs started using guns. What was the justification for the NFA? Gang violence is out of control.
Which we created with banning a substance.
Well, let me just go ahead and say this. The prohibition ended in 1934, which is when the NFA began. And they had hired all these treasury agents to enforce these liquor laws, and the liquor laws were going away. The government has never laid off anybody. So they started the NFA so they wouldn't have to lay off all of these treasury agents.
Yeah, and if you look at that, if you look at the
the theory of the ever expanding government.
That's not a theory. It's look at the dates.
Yeah, but look, I'm not saying yours is a theory. I'm just saying he was talking about earlier about how the government is actually keeps expanding versus
they never
what
lay anybody
no,
off.
they don't.
Originally intended for it to be small and contained and controlled.
Look at the Miller. Look at Miller. Look at the Miller case, 1934. Look at that. Look at what the judge's decision was. The argument was that the gun had to have military use or it wasn't valid. That was the judge's decision. The gun had to have military use, and because they said the sawed-off shotgun wasn't a military arm, he couldn't have it. So in other words, firearms in the United States should have to be martial. That was the Miller case, and that was the justification for the NFA. I mean, we've gone from this case
and now
it's the
they're
politicians
too military-like.
Yeah, the politicians are arguing and said, well, there's military weapons have no use in neighborhoods.
No sporting purpose.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
If your gun has a sporting purpose, it should be banned.
You use it for hunting.
What if you like hunting?
Tough.
It's banned.
It's just, that's how far we've come. We've gone this 180-degree reversal of what America used to be, and we've got to swing that pendulum back around. And if not...
If people would just use good common sense and listen to what these people are saying and telling them, it would throw up red flags immediately, Just like you're saying with the NFA when they were originally created, they were saying it had to be military. Now, their whole argument to get rid of them is...
It is military.
It is military. It's scary, and you don't need to have that. And it's just whatever serves their purpose at the time. They're going to word it however they see is going to justify the ends to their means.
Right, and it is becoming a democracy instead of a republic. The rules are constantly changing, and a person that builds their house on a shifting sand is going to lose their house. And that's what we're becoming, is a shifting sand. These rules and these laws just keep shifting and shaping with public opinion instead of having a well-established rule of law where it's stable. And by the way, having a stable set of laws is a good, sound economic policy as hell yeah!
Sing it, brother.
No one wants to. I mean, no one wants to. I mean, when things are unstable and they don't know what to expect from the laws, no one's going to invest any money, and that's why the economy sucks right now. Is because no one knows what Obamacare is going to do because it's based on bull crap.
Great. Now you guys have made him mad, and I got to drive home with him.
Sorry, we're going to chill him out over dinner.
Now, if James Yeager says that you're, if James Yeager says that you're temperamental, I think you've made it.
He's saying something. Yeah.
But no, I mean, just
no, man. I love your enthusiasm. I mean, I wasn't trying to be a smartass there, but
no.
I mean, I'm serious. I was getting fired up.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I pulled that out. That's the Constitution.
Yeah.
I pulled out a book, and it's a very thin, simple, small book.
It's not just the Constitution. It's the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation. It's 3 of our founding documents, and it is maybe a quarter of an inch.
Yep.
It was for that reason. The Founding Fathers intended the Constitution to be able to be read and comprehended by everyone. Law was supposed to be easily deciphered. It wasn't complicated. It was never supposed to be complicated. Look at 2 of our greatest lawyers in the history of the United States, Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln, both of which were self-taught on the American frontier.
I thought you were going to say Johnny Cochran. But
no,
go ahead.
But both of them were self-taught. They were able to teach themselves law and understand it. That should tell you, laws were never meant to be complicated, and now you have to, weave through them with a fine-tooth comb to find any meaning whatsoever. And the more laws a society has, the closer to tyranny we become.
Well said.
I posted on my Facebook that I was coming, and they should.
Okay, so from Yeager's Facebook page, we've got a couple of questions. Autumn T asks, when are you both going to run for office?
Autumn is a sweetheart. She's great. She's an alumni, and she's very politically active. She's great. And to answer her question, I already tried that. It didn't work out.
Never give up.
My efforts are best spent doing other things.
Roger that. Okay, so you got...
Read.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead, Reed.
I mean, I kind of enjoy what I'm doing now. I mean, I'm still get to influence people in a good way and still get to teach them how to protect themselves. I'm quite content right now. And
basically, he'd have to start womanizing, maybe doing drugs, and then we could get him into office. But right now, he's
He's
just
too clean.
He's too boring.
Yeah.
We got no excitement.
I don't know, man. He's got some fire in his voice.
Trust me, it only comes out when it really only comes. I'm usually very quiet, and I'm very introverted in general. I just on no, it's not. Ask James.
He's usually the quiet one.
But
those are the ones you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
All right, so we got another one. Minority of one. What do you think about the Smith & Wesson Shield recall notice that was issued today?
I haven't read it, but mine works great.
Did they really?
Yeah, there was some kind of recall. I haven't read it yet. I've been on the road. I haven't read it yet. But I don't know what it concerns, but I got one of the first ones. I mean, I got mine before they were released to the public, so
right.
so it was one of the first ones. Uh-huh. It's got about 9,000 rounds through it. And which is more than most people will shoot in 10 lifetimes, and it still.
You may want to say over 10,000 because last time you were here, you said 10,000.
Was it 10,000?
I think so. I don't know.
I've got a running tab on. I don't know. I don't count it that often, but I took
load, right?
Yeah, more than anybody will ever shoot in their life, most likely. And I mean, just about in every class, somebody shoots it. I hand it to somebody, and they shoot it. I mean, just bazillions of rounds. Anyway, and I took it in the saltwater with me when I went to Daytona, and everything is not rusted except the excess sights rusted, and I cleaned them off.
All right, here's the recall right here. It says important consumer safety alert. An inspection procedure, August 22nd, 2013. Product is all M&P Shield firearms manufactured before August 19th, 2013. Smith & Wesson has identified a condition where the trigger bar pin could damage the lower trigger in certain M&P shields in a way that may affect the functionality of the drop safety feature of the firearm, potentially allowing the pistol to discharge if it is dropped. Any unintended discharge of the firearm has the potential to cause injury.
So it happened once, and to cover their butt, they're recalling it.
Or it might have never happened. We live in such a litigious society. They might have seen these this perfect storm of parts mingling together and just put the recall out.
Yeah.
So it says, please contact Smith & Wesson directly, 877-899-6259 to arrange the repair, if necessary, of your pistol. Let's see. There's Brandon U. James, what made you decide to participate in Doomsday Preppers?
Publicity. And publicity.
When'd you do that?
We're going to be the season finale for season 3.
They
Cool.
said that
Oh, okay.
officially.
Yeah, because we're awesome.
Your vehicle that you're doing, is that one of the reasons?
Nope.
That's not.
No.
Oh, man, I figured that'd be on there.
The theme to season 3 is building, like the castle guy building the castle. One of those
Yeah,
things. And we built three things. We built a Spikes AR-15, we built a SOE chest rig, and then of course my army, the building of my army.
Is that your Havoc spike?
Yeah.
I love that. It's awesome.
Back to 1.
Reed, name us your favorite board game, pizza topping, and porn star.
Risk, and risk.
So somebody wanted to know those 3 things?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Brandon Yu. I'm not going to say his last name.
Oh, okay. No, I just was. I didn't know. Like my favorite board game.
Yeah. Tell us your favorite board game,
Okay. Risk.
pizza topping.
Extra cheese.
Okay.
So wouldn't it just be cheese?
Cheese.
And porn star.
Bridget,
Male or female?
Doesn't specify. Well, who's your favorite? Ron
Tom Cruise.
I don't really watch porn.
Zeke is, right?
I don't know. I mean,
You know he's an ex-porn star, right?
no.
Yeah.
No.
I don't really watch porn.
The scary thing, he's really?
No, I don't.
You were, dude? Sorry.
But I know of them, but I really don't watch porn.
Okay, Jonathan B., my question is, Europeans, are European, he didn't word this right. All right.
Hey,
My
it's
question
European.
is Europeans are allowed to participate to your class?
basically, they're asking if foreigners can take our classes.
Yeah, I think that's where
if
he's
the
getting
State
at.
Department's cool with it, I'm cool with it.
All right, so we did have a trivia winner for the Max Michel eyewear giveaway.
The question was, what is the brand name of the eyewear that he wears, and what records did he recently break?
And we got a few right answers in, and after drawing, Steve J. got the right answer. He said Max Michel wears Revision Eyewear Eye Pro. Max won the 2013 World Speed Shooting Championships in Florida with world records in 4 stages: accelerator, 5 to go, roundabout, and speed option, as well as overall time. He threw in a world record time in the rimfire competition to boot. Dude's a machine. Keep up the good work. So Steve J., send us an email with your shipping info. We'll get it to Max, and he'll send you out that pair of Revision eyewear.
And I got to ask, is he related to Ron? He'll know what I'm talking about.
So this week's trivia is going to be on, if you go to James Yeager's YouTube channel and you go to one of the instructor bios and you find Reed's instructor bio, Reed Hendricks. He asked him the question, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? What is the answer to that
Don't
question?
answer that.
Of course, he would know what it was.
Yeah, he was leaning in like he was getting ready to answer it. Don't do that.
And if you get that right, we have got a Rob Pincus combat focus shooting book to give away.
I love ice training.
Also, thanks to ICE Training for coming on board as a sponsor, icetraining.us.
And big thanks to US Elite Gear, us-elitegear.com.
And All or Nothing Tattoo Studios, allornothingtattoo.com, and their gear store, strangleholdmerch.com.
Holder and Green Professional Real Estate Services, HG Press, 1-800-615-1840, extension 2222. Give T a call today for all your Middle Tennessee real estate needs.
And as always, left hand, keep your loved ones close.
And your firearms closer.